Okay, hello second graders. Today we are looking at lesson 5-6. They're going to ask us to continue to break apart numbers to subtract. So we started that strategy last week, and we're going to be continuing it today. You'll notice that, or if you think back to last week, we were subtracting one-digit numbers. Today we're going to be subtracting numbers with 2 digits. So that's the difference, okay? And we're going to find that on page 285. So if you can go ahead and take out your book, if you don't yet have it out, turn to page 285. I'm going to show you what that looks like. Here we go. Lesson 5-6, page 285. Jada is here with her workspace, and I'm going to go ahead and read the story that she has here, and you can follow along in your book. Okay? It says, Gina wants to find 53 minus 28 by breaking apart 28 into 2 numbers. Use place value blocks and the hundreds chart to show how Gina could find the difference. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do, of course, is identify my important information, right? So I'm being asked to solve for 53 minus 28, and they want me to do that by breaking apart 28 into 2 numbers. Okay, they're also asking me to use my place value blocks and to use the hundreds chart, okay, to show my work. So let's go ahead and start out by writing the original equation, which is 53 minus 28. So I'm going to go to the top of your page, and I'm going to do the same. And we're going to write 53 minus 28. Now, at the beginning, I shared with you that last week we did this strategy, but the number that we were taking away was a one-digit number in all of the problems that we were doing. Today, you can see I'm taking away a two-digit number, right? 28. So they want me to break apart 28, but I'm going to need to do this in 2 steps because I have 2 digits this time. For my first step, I'm going to break apart my tens and ones. So in the number 28, I know I have 2 tens, so I'm going to write a 20 in my first bond, and I have 8 ones, so I'm going to write an 8 in my second bond. Okay. Now for my second step, I'm going to look at just my ones place, where my 8 is. Okay, and I'm going to break that down farther, just like we did last week. Think back to last week. The way I decided how to break this apart, because there's many ways to break apart 8, right? But the way I decided was by looking here at the number I'm subtracting from. I'm subtracting from the number 53. So I'm noticing I have a 3 in my ones place. Okay, that's going to be the first bond that I do. I'm going to put a 3. That way, when I subtract, I'm going to end up with a 10, right? Our brains really like 10s. Okay, so 3, I need to figure out what my second bond is to make 8, right? Many of us are getting really good at having these facts in our long-term memories. If you're not yet sure, the strategy that you're going to use is to scoop up that number and count on until you get to 8. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm seeing 5, right? 3 and 5 give me 8. Okay, so now I have all the information I need to start subtracting. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my first number that I'm subtracting from, 53. And I'm going to take away my tens to begin with, 53 minus 20. Okay. Now you'll notice in the directions it says to use place value blocks, right? And again, many of you are getting really good at using mental math when you're subtracting tens, okay? But base 10 blocks give us a really good visual too if we would like that support. So 53 minus 20, what does that look like? Let me go ahead and draw 53 here. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 1, 2, 3, 53, okay? And I'm subtracting 20. So I'm going to take away 1 and 2, 2 tens, right? What am I left with? 10, 20, 30, and 3, 33. So 53 minus 20 gives me 33. Okay, so I've taken care of my tens, guys. I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. You can do that too. Now I'm going to move on to subtracting what I have in my ones place. So I'm going to take that 33 that I was left with, and I'm going to subtract, instead of subtracting 8, remember I broke it apart. I'm going to subtract 3 and get my difference there. 33 minus 3 gives me 30. My brain likes that, right? We like when we get tens. Okay, so now I've taken care of the first bond. Now I need to move on to my second bond. So I have 30 minus 5. All right, so here I'm just going to scoop up that 30 and I'm going to count back 5 times. Okay, let's do that together. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. Okay, I'm left with 25. Okay, so we've shown what that looks like with equations when we're showing our work. They also encouraged us to use the number grid to show. So I have 53. We can find that on our number grid together. 53 is here. Okay. First, I'm going to subtract my tens. So I know when I'm subtracting tens on a number grid, I'm going to be jumping up 10, 20. I land at 33, right? Then I'm going to go to my ones. I know I broke that 8 apart into 3 and 5. So I'm going to jump back 3 first. 1, 2, 3. That takes me to a 10. And now I'm going to jump back my 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I land at 25. Got the same answer, right? So 53 minus 28 gives me a difference of 25. Okay? All right, so we are taking that same strategy that we did last week, and we're just adding one more step because we have a 2-digit number that we are subtracting. Let's go ahead and take another example. In this green box, we have 81 minus 27. So the directions say you can use place value to break apart the number you are subtracting. I'm subtracting 27 from 81. So I'm going to take that 27. Again, it's a 2-digit number, so I'm going to have to break it apart in 2 steps, right? The first step is breaking apart my tens and my ones. So I have 2 tens for 20 and 7 ones for 7. The next step is going to be to break that ones place down even farther. And how am I going to determine what I'm going to break it apart into? Because again, 7 can be broken down many ways, right? 0 and 7, 1 and 6, 2 and 5, 3 and 4, and then the flip-flops of each of those. But I'm going to determine how I'm going to break it down by looking at the number that I'm starting with, right? 81. I'm going to look at the ones place there, and you'll see 81 has a 1 in the ones place. So that is going to help me to know how I'm going to break it apart. So I'm going to put a 1 in my first bond, and I know 1 plus 6 is what gives me 7. So now I have my 27 all broken up, right? Now I'm going to take it back to my equation, 81 minus 27. So you could see they started at 81, and they used the number grid as opposed to the equation. So they started at 81. Here we go. You can circle 81 in your book. Okay. The first thing they did was subtract 2 tens. So that's going to mean that we're going up, right? 71, 61. Okay. Then they're going to subtract their ones, but they're not going to do all 7. They're going to look at what they broke it down into. So first, from 61, they're going to take away 1. That took them to 60. And then they're going to take away 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They landed at 54, right? So 81 take away 27 gives me a total of 54, okay? All right, so they give us that example of using the number grid here in those green boxes. And then you'll notice on the guided practice, they also give us a number line or a number grid, I'm sorry, so that we can show our work there. Okay, we've talked about this before. Number grids are a great strategy, and if it's something that you are comfortable using, then I encourage you to use it. Again, you do have a number grid inside of your math packet. However, your math toolkit, a number grid is not something that we always have with us. And so I like to encourage you to use equations to show your work, just so that it's a tool that you know that you're going to have with you all the time. I'm going to show you how to do it both ways in our guided practice. We're going to show our work with our equations, and we're going to show our work with our number grid so you can see both. But just keep in mind that a number grid is available, and if it's a strategy that you're comfortable with, you're welcome to take out your toolkit and to use that one as well. Okay, but I'm going to show you both ways. All right, so let's take a look then at number 1, 54 minus 26. I see it's 2 digits, so I'm going to have to break it down in 2 steps, right? The first thing I'm going to do is break apart my 10s and my 1s. So I have 2 10s, which is 20, and 6 1s, which is 6. Okay, now I need to break apart my 6 and break that down. How am I going to determine what my first bond is going to be? I'm going to look at the 1s place of the number I'm subtracting from, 54. I see there's a 4 in the 1s place, so my first bond is going to be a 4, and I know 4 plus 2 is what gives me 6. Okay, now I have all the information I need to solve. I'm going to go ahead and start by showing with the equations, okay? I have 54. I'm going to use the space for now. 54. And I'm going to subtract my 10s first. So 54 minus 20 equals. All right, so if you would like a visual to help you out with that, what does 54 look like? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52, 53, and 54. That's what the visual is, right? Many of us are getting really good at visualizing something like that in our heads. And then I'm going to subtract 20. 10, 20. So what am I left with? 10, 20, 30, and 4 is 34. 34. That makes sense, right? I had 54 and I'm taking away 2 10s. I'm not going to take away any 1s. So I'm left with 34. All right, now I have 34, so let me go ahead and record that. And I know I need to take away 6 1s altogether. But I took those 6 1s and I broke them apart. So I'm going to go ahead and cross out this 20. You can do that too because we took care of our 10s already. So I'm going to start by subtracting 4. 34 minus 4. And look at that. It's going to give me a 10, right? Notice here's 34. If I take 4 away, all my 1s are gone, right? So now I'm just left with 10, 20, 30. So I have 30. Okay, I've taken away 4. I'm going to cross that out. Now, all I have to take away is this last 2. So I'm going to write my 30, take away 2. And for that, I can just scoop up that 30, and I can count backwards 2 times. It looks and sounds like this. You can do it with me, please. 30, 29, 28. Okay, 28 is what I'm left with. All right, so that's how to show your work with the equations. Now let's look at how to show your work with a number grid. I'm starting with 54. So 54 is here. I'm going to start by taking away my 2 10s. So I'm going to jump back 10 and 20. I land at 34, right? Do this with me in your book. Now I'm going to take away 4 1s. So I'm going to jump back 1, 2, 3, and 4. I land at 30, which is a 10. And finally, I'm going to take away 2 more 1s. 1, 2. I land at 28, right? So that's what I got here too. So 54 minus 26 gives me a difference of 28. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at number 2. 43 minus 18. Okay, I have 2 digits, So again, I'm going to have to break it down in 2 steps. My first step is going to be tens and ones. I have 1 10. So there's my 10. And I have 8 ones. There's my 8. Now I'm going to break down my 8 farther with one more step, right? How am I going to determine my first bond? I'm going to look back at 43. I see there's a 3 right there in my ones place, and I really want to make a 10. So I'm going to subtract 3 to begin with. 3 plus what is going to give me 8? 3 plus 5 is going to give me 8. Okay? All right, so now I have everything I need to start solving. First, I'm going to show you in equations, and then we'll go back and we'll look at it on a number grid. Okay? So 43 minus 10. And I'm sorry, guys, there's not a lot of workspace here. I wish there was more. I'm going to write it best I can so you can still see and it's not too smushed. 43 minus 10 equals, okay, 43 minus 10 equals 33, right? I'm just taking away 110, so I'm left with 33. There we go. You can see that okay? All right, so now I have 33, and I'm going to take away my ones. I'm going to start by taking away 3 ones. 33 minus 3 equals, that's going to give me 30, right? Good. Okay, so I've taken away that part of my ones, and now I just have 5 more ones to take away. So I had 30, and I'm going to take away 5. And in order to get the answer there, I could just scoop up 30 and then count back 5 times. So here we go. 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. Okay, I'm left with 25. So 43 minus 18 leaves me with 25. It's my final difference. All right. Now to check that in another way, I can use my number grid. I'm going to go ahead and take another color. That's the other thing about number grids. If you're using your pencil as you go, you start to get a lot of marks, right? The marks start to add up really fast. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're using number grids. But I'm going to go ahead and start with 43. We're going to find it together. Here it is, 43. I'm going to start by taking away 110. So I jump up 1, and that gives me 33. Now I'm going to take away my ones. First, I'm going to take away 3. So I'm going to jump back 1, 2, and 3. I land at 30. And then I'm going to take away 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I land at 25. Which is the answer that I got here. Okay, so 25 is my answer. Okay, guys, so again, this is a strategy that we started last week, but it does have another step. So if it's feeling a little confusing or a little bit overwhelming, it's okay. We're going to take it one step at a time. I'm going to do another couple, 1 or 2 examples with you, or maybe start you off at least on 1 or 2 so that you can have a little bit more support as you go. But we're going to talk about this in our Google Meets too, okay? So give yourself some time to be comfortable with it, but I know that you guys will start to pick it up as we get more practice, okay? Just be gentle with yourself. Let's look at the independent practice here. The directions are asking us to subtract. They want us to break apart the number that you are subtracting, and they want you to show your work and use a hundreds chart if needed, okay? I'm going to encourage you to use the equations as opposed to the hundreds chart, okay? And a great tool to use, because again, they don't give you a lot of room in the book, but a great tool that you have that you can use is your whiteboard and marker to write out those equations too, okay? That's another good tip. So let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. Now you'll notice that the equation is written a little bit differently. It starts with the answer or the difference, blank equals 32 minus 13. Okay, but the strategy and the process is exactly the same. So I see I have 32 minus 13. I'm going to start by breaking apart tens and ones. Okay, so 13 breaks apart into 1 10, right? And 3 ones. There we go. There's my 13. Okay, now I'm going to take my 3 and I'm going to break it down even farther. How am I going to decide how I'm going to break it? I'm going to look back at the number I'm starting with, right? 32. There's a 2 in the ones place. And you can even underline it in your book too. So I'm going to make a 2 for my first bond. 2 plus 1 is what's going to give me 3. Okay? Okay, so at this point, like I said, you can use your whiteboard or you can use the space that they give you, although it's not a lot of space, I have to say, to show your work. But I'm going to start with 32 and I'm going to take away my tens first. So here I go. 32 minus 10 gives me 22, right? Good. And so now I'm taking care of my tens. Now I'm going to write my 22 because that's what I was left with. And I'm going to take away, I'm going to look at my ones now and how I broke it down. I started with 2. 22 minus 2 equals, good, 20. Took away all my ones, right? So now I'm done with that part. Now I have one more part. I'm at 20. And I'm going to take away 1. So I can just scoop up that 20 and count back one more. 20, 19. So altogether, I'm left with 19. So 19 equals 32 minus 13. Okay? All right, let's look at let's just set the problems up for numbers 4 and 5. Okay, we're just going to set it up by breaking down what you need to break down. So I see 74 minus 28. This is going to break apart first by tens and ones. So I'm going to have 2 tens. Oops. 28 is two tens, which is 20, and 8 ones. And then how am I going to break apart 8? I'm going to look at 74. I'm going to break it apart into 4 and 4, right? 4 and 4 give me 8. Okay, so now you're all set up to start subtracting, right? You're going to take 74 and you're going to subtract that 20. And then you're going to take the answer that you get, the difference, and you're going to subtract 4. And that'll leave you with a 10, and then you're going to subtract 4 more. That's the process, okay? Let's go ahead and set you up for number 5. You have 61 minus 47. Okay, we're going to start by breaking apart tens and ones. So I have 40 in my first bond and 7 in my second bond. Now I'm going to take that ones place and I'm going to break it down even further. So I'm going to look back at the number I'm subtracting from, which is 61. So I know I'm going to have my 7 broken down into 1, and I know 1 and 6 is what gives me 7. And then I can go ahead and subtract from there, okay? Again, if this space is too small, then I'm going to really encourage you to take out your whiteboard and your markers so you have a little bit more space, or even if you have some scratch paper that you have nearby, you can use that too, okay? All right, guys. So your assignment today will be to complete numbers 4 through 8. We'll be talking about this strategy again in our Google Meet. We'll get some more examples. You can bring your questions there. We can even look at our book if you got stuck or didn't get to finish any. Okay, we could talk about it then. But again, it's a newer strategy, so be gentle to yourself. If you need some more time to process it, sometimes it helps to get up, get a drink of water, and then kind of come back and reset. Okay? All right, guys. I hope that you have a great rest of the day. And of course, I will be seeing you very soon. Okay? Take care. Bye, guys.